It's worms and spinning and casting cranks through lay downs and grass fields, and the river's trying to get the bass to bite. That gets me on the water in all different kinds of weather. That forever just keeps tackling on my mind. Hey everybody, welcome into Tackle on My Mind. What's on my mind today? Helping you catch bass in the spring. How are we going to do that? We're going to throw a lipless crankbait. Now, a little bit of background on crankbaits. What is a crankbait? If you really think about it, couldn't anything be a crankbait? You throw it out there, you crank it in. It's a bait you're cranking in. Well, over the years, when they came out, the fishing industry kind of decided that something that looks like this is a crankbait. This is probably the more popular one. This is a square bill crankbait. It's got a square bill on front of there. It throws in, it wobbles pretty nice. This has got some sound in it, a rattle in it, helps attract the fish. Also, it usually has 2 sets of treble hooks on there. Again, you throw it out there, you start cranking, it brings it in, it attracts fish. The area of crankbaits is huge, so I'm not going to go down all of that in this video. Again, we're going to get to that red lipless, but I just thought I'd give you a little information for you. Just kind of, the stats kind of blew my mind, or the information blew my mind. I went to Tackle Warehouse and brought up crankbaits. 5 categories: shallow diving, medium diving, deep diving, extra deep diving, lipless. And each of those, there's subcategories. Just to give you an example, under shallow diving, there's a square bill shallow, round bill shallow, coffin bill shallow, circuit board shallow, L bill shallow. In just the shallow diving crankbaits of those categories, of the different brands that are on Tackle Warehouse, 328 different brands of those categories of crankbaits, and that's not changing color on any of them. Overall, on Tackle Warehouse, and that's just a reference point I used, because you can go to their website and bring up all this. I counted them all. Yeah, I had some time on my hands. 693 different styles of crankbaits. Again, that's different brands, different styles, but didn't take in color. So I imagine if you start adding color, you're looking at and you're getting a little overwhelmed with the numbers here. So hopefully we can help you out. I do like my crankbaits. I got a shallow crankbait box. These are all my square bills. I got kind of an overflow box and a deep diving crankbait box. I have some of those in there. I have what I call my spring and deep diving crankbaits. There's some deep divers in here. There's some spring flat-sided ones when the water's cold. That seems to help a little bit. There's a red, and we're going to get to the reason for that red. And then I have my red lipless crankbait box. See all those in there. I like red lipless crankbaits. Why red? Well, Berkeley Bait Company, they have a crack team. I think some of the best research scientists in the bait industry do a lot of research, do a lot of scientific evidence and things like that of what attracts bass. They discovered that the 2 colors bass can see the best are green and red. There's some controversy of that says, red also disappears when it gets to a certain depth and something like that. Well, that's to our eyes. Again, according to them, the 2 colors that bass can see the best are green and red. So I go with red. It's kind of a common color to use in the spring. I started using a few years ago, and I have pulled in a lot of bass every time I go out and use it. When I first started getting into kayak bass fishing, a buddy of mine, he was fishing a body of water. I met him out there. He goes, "Sit out here and throw a red lipless." I did, and I had an epic night caught. At the time, what was one of my biggest bass. Last spring, I was on similar, I think it was the same body of water. I sat and anchored myself in one spot. I fan cast red lipless, and I easily lost track by the numbers of bass I caught in an hour to 2 hour period. It was crazy. So, well, what is a lipless crankbait? I showed you that square bill. That's the lip. A lipless doesn't have that. They also sink. Your square bill will float. When you start reeling it, it dives down, you stop, it starts rising to the top. Your red lipless will sink. Depending on the weight of it, obviously, will create it, how fast it's going to sink. It's got kind of a flat nose on it right here on the top. And that's what so it's going through the water like this, and it is just rattling back and forth. This one has a one knocker, a lot of noise, and just comes through. These work in all situations. If you fish Northwest Ohio, Toledo area, you're probably going to fish a lake that's got some grass in it. People say, oh, treble hooks, I'm going to get them all hung up in the grass. No, this kind of comes through, it gets in the grass, you rip it through there with your rod, and then pause, and it starts to fall and flutter as it's falling, and, bass will hit it that way. Couple ways to fish this, again, throw it out there, it's going to start falling. You can pump your rod, and I'll show you that a little bit. It'll come fluttering up, and then it sinks again. And if you just kind of do a yo-yo, and it flutters up, and then it flutters up. Or you can just throw it out there and straight reel it, and it's just making its way to you like that. Now, some red lipless. I'm going to go into some categories that I like here. Again, you're going to see a red or an orange or some variation of that. This first one here, this is a Booyah One Knocker. This is the 1/2 ounce. I really like this bait. It's probably caught the most fish over the last 2 years. 1/2 ounce size. Again, sinks a little bit more. Gets down to your depth if you want it. That's Tiger Craw. This spring already, I started throwing a little smaller size, a little 1/4 ounce. If they're not, chasing that 1/2 ounce, downsize a little bit, you get the same action. Again, that's that Tiger Craw, 1/4 ounce, a little smaller. Got some nice fish already this spring on it. Another color I like to throw, little Rayburn Red. It's a little brighter, a little more attractive. And then another one, Sunset Craw. Got some sparkle in there. If you got a little bit more sunny skies, that's going to help a little bit. Again, these are 1/4 ounce, or these are 1/2 ounce, sorry, and they really got some weight. They really kind of sink down. They'll get to the bottom a little bit quicker. So if you do have a lot of grass, you might get yourself caught up a little bit. So if that's happening and I want to stay a little bit shallower, I go to a cotton Cordell Super Spot. This again is 1/4 ounce, actually it's 1/2 ounce, but this 1/2 ounce to me, I think it's the way it's shaped. It doesn't sink as fast. I use this one when I want to keep it above 4 feet, 3 feet. My grass is coming up. It's about 3 feet under the water, and just rip it across there. You can throw this and rip it. Throw it and just reel it back to you as fast as you want. You can vary that, but this is cover water like that. Then this is a Royal Red again. If it's a little cloudy, sometimes I like to go to more of an orange. This is actually a Copper Craw. And then we got a Rayburn Red. So again, all some variation of a red or an orange. Another very popular brand is Strike King, the Strike King Red Eye Shad. This is a 3/4 ounce, so if you're fishing in some deeper water and you really want to get down to the bottom, again, it's got that rattle in there. Kevin Van Dam made it popular, sold 1 million of them. A little smaller size, again, these are Royal Red. A little smaller, this is the 1/2 ounce, downsize a little bit. you know, again, you can go to Tackle Warehouse, and I think I'll go back how many red lipless they had. Actually, surprisingly, only 27 different types, but again, different colors. I just throw red. I have a red lipless tied on from the first time I go out in the spring. If it's March, this time it's the end of February, I'll have one tied on until the end of May for sure, sometimes into June. They flat out catch fish for me. Couple things I like to do. Some people don't do this. You don't have to. I change all my hooks. A lot of times they come with they'll come with decent hooks, a lot of them. I will tell you the cotton Cordell, as much as I like it, it's very inexpensive. One of the reasons it doesn't have very good hooks on it. I immediately change all of them. What do I change them? How do I change them? Well, I use Gamakatsu's Treble extra wide gap size 4. I will link all of this stuff in the description so you can have an idea of what they are. It's a little treble hook. It's got a little bit curved in extra wide gap, and that helps if the bass are coming and they're swatting at it and they get it, they'll stay pinned on that. To help change those out, I gotta look at make sure I'm telling you the right. Texas Tackle Executive Split Ring Pliers, 4-inch. These are great. You could put them in your boat. I change all my hooks before I leave. Usually as soon as I get the bait, if I have the hooks around. If not, I need to order some. But I'll change them out right away. You just open up your split ring and then work that hook around in there and then put it back in there. It's not that hard. I will tell you, once you start using these, you're probably going to poke yourself a few times. These are sharp and they help. They will keep the bass on. You know, a lot of guys never change the hooks. My buddy Mitchell Ross says, I never change hooks and I've never lost a fish on throwing a red lipless or lipless at all. He doesn't always throw red as much as I do. I know he does throw some. It's funny, he always, you know, I'll be fishing, I'll text him or something. I caught something. He goes, "Are you fishing red lipless?" And he knows. I mean, it's on there all the time. What do I throw these on? A couple different choices here. My favorite all-around rod, if I don't break it on the wall over here. I picked this up last year, so I got to put my glasses on and off. It's terrible. I can see you guys. I can see in distance. This is a Ardent Ardent Edge series. Medium heavy, moderate action. Moderate action means this tip, when it loads up, loads a little bit up back here. You're going to get more of a parabolic bend. It's going to bend back here a little bit more. What that helps is treble hooks, bait's coming up, fish is coming up behind it. When you go to set it, it's not super stiff and super fast up here at the tip where it's going to rip that bait away from the bass. It's going to move a little bit slower. It's a little bit more moderate action. And then when you're fighting the fish, also, he's got those treble hooks in him. He's going to be pulling. You don't want to struggle trying to get. He's going to try to throw these hooks. If you got a little bit more moderate action, you can help keep him pinned a little bit longer. This is a 7 feet 6 inches. I like this distant, a long rod for distance. My reel on here is an Ardent 8-Pex Elite, 7:3 to 1 gear ratio. It can send them. I can bomb cast with this thing. When you're fishing a lipless crankbait, you're not target fishing. You know, you're not going down your bank. You're not fishing lay down, stuff like that. You're usually covering water, and you might be in a flat or an open water someplace. You know, there's no trees out in the middle. You don't, this is not something you throw around wood. It'll come around grass really great, and throw it around some rocks. But so you just are making as long a cast as you can, and the longer rod you have, the better you can do that. A couple other ones I have here. I love Dobyns rods. This one's a 7 foot moderate action, medium heavy. It's got a little bit of backbone, a little flex and tip, but again, it's going to flex way down, you know, more in the middle to give you that fighting power and that you don't want to rip it away. The rod I came up with, again, you're saying these are all moderate actions. Another Dobyns, this is their Kaden series. Really love this line of rod. This is a 7.3, so this one's a little bit longer. Again, I got 3 of these, and you can guarantee I probably have at least 2 of them hooked up with a different kind of red lipless on there overall, because, you know, like I said, I'll start out, I got that 1/2 ounce. Well, maybe I want a 1/4 ounce hooked up too. I don't want to take time to change them, or maybe, you know, I got that Booyah. I know that sinks a little bit more. If I'm going to yo-yo that, it gets a little different sound. Otherwise, a really different kind of rattle, and I just want to rip it through some grass. I start throwing that cotton Cordell. Again, I don't want to take the time to have to retie, so I got it more than one tied on. I'll show you this little thing, if you can see this, hopefully. I found these at a Bass Pro Shop. I'm not sponsored by them in any means, so I'm just saying this is what I found. You might be able to find. They're basically a line keeper. It's got a little keeper on here that you can just take your line, put it in through there, and pull it down on there, and then your line's not, you know, getting all messed up when you're going from one spot to the other. Really neat little thing. Pick up yourself some. I really like them. So that's your basic dive, I guess, down into red lipless crankbaits. Get some, tie them on, get them on. Can you throw them on a spinning rod and reel? Absolutely. You've watched some of my videos before. I have a buddy who doesn't own a bait cast combo. He throws everything on spinning and he catches fish regularly. Will it improve if you're using a bait cast? Yeah, you know, maybe we'll do a video sometime on kind of how to use a bait caster. In today's world, they're pretty easy to use. They are dialed in pretty nicely. It's nothing complicated. You'll get a backlash here and there. You learn to take them out, and they're nothing. But it makes it a little easier. It's kind of like, can I shovel my snow with a small little bladed shovel? Absolutely. Is it the best tool for the job? No. So best tool for job throwing crankbaits is get yourself a nice crankbait rod, parabolic bend, a moderate action, and a bait caster, usually something in the 6.5, 7.5 to 1, not super fast. You don't want to rip this away from them, but that's kind of what'll help you out. So get out there, tie some on. If you're fishing, especially anywhere in the country, but I'm in Toledo, Ohio. If you're fishing in this area and you want to catch fish, get yourself a red lipless, tie it on, and go have some fun. Alrighty, hit subscribe, hit the like button, leave us a comment, and we'll get back to you again. Thanks for joining us.